University, and our signal is carried by WNC Chapel Hill. As a non-profit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the SENCRRS in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or our toll-free number 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are
Becky Johnston
and Joan Townsend.
excuse me. Death notices for today. Cumberland County. George D. Barnett, 75 of Fayetteville, Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. Infant Saria Stokes of Fayetteville, Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Otto L. Williams, 83 of Fayetteville, of Wiseman Mortuary. Stacy Jones, 52 of Fayetteville, Wiseman Mortuary. Cheryl Torrey Evans, 68 of Fort Washington. Shirley Woods, 81 of Fayetteville, Wiseman Mortuary. In the Cape Fear region, Mabel Short Thrush, 80 of Laurinburg, formerly of Rockingham, Richard Bowles Funeral Services. Martha A. Smiley, 74 of Spring Lake at Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. Ingeborg Kashner, 91 of Fayetteville, died Monday, March 12th. The family will receive friends at 11:30 a.m. Monday, March 19, 2018 at Lafayette Baptist Church. The funeral service will follow at 12:30 with interment at Sandhill State Veteran Cemetery at 2 o'clock. In lieu of flowers, the family suggests memorials to be made to Lafayette Baptist Church on 501 Hope Mills Road, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Services are being provided at Pinecrest Funeral Services. Lloyd Bud Jackson, Jr., 68 of Hope Mills, died Wednesday, March 14th. Funeral service will be held at 2 p.m. Sunday, March 18th at Pinecrest Funeral and Cremation Services in Hope Mills. Burial will follow in Fayetteville Memorial Cemetery. The family will receive friends from 6 to 8 p.m. Saturday night at the funeral home. In lieu of flowers, memorials may be made to Friends of the Cancer Center at Cape Fear Valley Health Foundation, P.O. Box 87526, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28304. James Darrell Denning at Salisbury, formerly of Irwin, 56, died Tuesday, March 13th. The funeral is Saturday at 3 p.m. at Cromartie Miller Funeral Home Chapel in Dunn. The visitation is at Cromartie Miller Funeral Home on Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. The burial will be at a later date. Henry Whitted, 74 of St. Paul's, died Wednesday, March 14th. The funeral will be Sunday at 2 p.m. at Miller's Chapel United Methodist Church at St. Paul's. The burial will be in the church cemetery. Caring, funeral, and care cremations are providing services. George Monroe Elvis, 94 of Laurel Hill, died Wednesday, March 14th. The funeral is on Monday at 3 p.m. at Springfield Church of God. The visitation will be at the church on Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. The burial will be at Pinecrest Cemetery. Richard Bowles Funeral Services providing the service. Cemetery. And the services are being provided by Richard Bowles Funeral Service. Francis Altstone, 94 of Bowie's Creek, died Thursday, March Methodist Church. The visitation will be at the church on Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. O'Quinn, Peebles, Phillips Funeral Home, and Crematory of Lillington are providing the scene. Funeral services are Sunday at 2 p.m. at Holly Springs Baptist Church, April 7th at the home, at his home. The family asks the donations, at the home in Gatesville. The family asks the donations to Robert's memory be made to Frank Upchurch Medical Missions Scholarship Endowment or Rufus Warren Johnson Memorial Scholarship at Campbell University at P.O. Box 125, Bowies Creek, North Carolina 27506. Phone number is 910-893-1229. Kernice Lee Chief Locklear, 76, of Maxton, died Wednesday, March 14th. The funeral is on Sunday at 2:30 in Cherokee Holiness Methodist Church. The visitation will be at Bowles Funeral Home in Red Springs, Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. The burial will be at the church cemetery. Mr. Locklear was a veteran. Harold G. Malaguti, 85, of Parkton, died Thursday, March 15th. The memorial is on Monday at 6:30 p.m. at the Pinecrest Funeral and Cremation Services. Visitation following the service at the funeral home. Pinecrest Funeral and Cremation Service of Hope Mills has provided service. Mr. Malaguti was a veteran.
Billy Graham. And the editor's note is that this my answer column was completed before Reverend Billy Graham's recent death. Question. My parents got divorced when I was about 10, and it was a very painful time for me. Now my boyfriend and I are seriously talking about marriage, but deep down inside I'm honestly afraid. What if we end up the same way my parents did? This question is asked by CR. Answer. Your hesitancy is completely understandable, and to be honest, it's better for you to be cautious and thoughtful about marriage than to rush headlong into it without thinking, as some people do. At the same time, don't let your fears paralyze you or keep you from whatever God may have for you in the future. Yes, because of your parents' experience, you're afraid of failure, but just because their marriage failed doesn't mean yours also must fail. Not at all. In fact, I suspect you learned much from what happened to them, and you may be better equipped as a result to avoid the pitfalls that trap them. What should you do? First, seek God's will for your future, including your marriage. Almost nothing strengthens a marriage more than the certainty that God brought the two of you together and that it was His will for you to become husband and wife. God gave marriage to us, and Jesus confirmed this by performing His first miracle at a wedding. See John 2, 1 through 11.
Dear Abby, I'm a stay-at-home mom with 3 children, all in school. We recently had security cameras installed around our house. However, my husband has taken to using them to monitor everything I do throughout the day. He will say things like, "What took you so long to go to the dry cleaner?" Or, "Why did you go outside at 11 a.m.? I feel like a prisoner in my home. What should I do? No privacy in the East." Dear No Privacy, what your husband is doing is controlling and frankly creepy. This is what insecure abusers do to their significant other. Tell him you do not have to account to him, a year-old woman living in Los Angeles. A close friend just had a baby. I'm planning a request, or is my other friend overreacting? Dear Diphtheria and Pertussis, which is whooping cough. It is usually a DTaP series of vaccinations.
Horoscopes. Pisces, February 19th, March 20th. You're fighting not only for official policy today, but your doubts as well. Perhaps it's best that you can't follow through on plans. Aries, March 21, April 19. A controversy arises today when you let slip what you're working on right now. While you have the support of most, your critics are quite vocal. Taurus, April 20th, May 20th. You must share what you know only with those whom it directly concerns. Letting the cat out of the bag prematurely can harm chances of success. Gemini, May 21st, June 20th. A denial comes your way today that makes you very much by surprise, and forces you to take a position you wouldn't ordinarily take. Cancer, June 21, July 22nd. What you've recently done is going to resonate with many today, so it will be an inspiration, and to others it will be a warning. Leo, July 23rd, August 22nd. Issues of friendship and perhaps a certain partnership will come to the surface today. You may find yourself in need of moral support. Virgo, August 23rd, September 22nd. What happens today tests your patience and your resolve. You may harbor doubts that only a good friend can help you dispel. Libra, September 23rd, October 22nd. That which you do by yourself today isn't likely to attract much attention, yet when it does, you'll be at the center of a maelstrom. Scorpio, October 23rd, November 21. You can be easily persuaded to do something today that will benefit others. Don't forget about your needs, however. Sagittarius, November 23rd, December 21. You can get started with something you've long planned, but take care that you don't try to move too far too quickly all at once today. Capricorn, December 22nd, January 19. Others may point the finger at you today, but you know that what has transpired has more to do with them than with you. Make that known. That's me.
I know, that's why I said it. So your horoscope would come out, right?
Aquarius, January 20th, February 18th. You're likely to realize today that your support of another has been ill used and you have been tricked in some way. Speak up quickly.
Bridge collapse shines light on rapid building technique. As the 950-ton concrete bridge section was swung into place over a highway last weekend, Florida International University officials were beaming with pride. The pedestrian bridge on the edge of Miami area campus was a signature achievement of the school's Accelerated Bridge Construction University Transportation Center, a research group set up with federal funding a few years ago to show how spans could be built faster and cheaper in the United States. FIU is about building bridges and student safety. This project accomplishes our mission beautifully, FIU President Mark B. Rosenberg boasted that day. We are filled with pride and satisfaction at seeing this engineering feat come to life and connect our campus to the surrounding community. 5 days later, the bridge collapsed onto the busy 6-lane highway, crushing cars and killing at least 6 people in a tragedy now under federal investigation. While it's not very clear what caused the failure of the unfinished span Thursday, the disaster has cast a spotlight on a rapid construction technique widely used around the U.S. Accelerated bridge construction, or ABC, involves assembling large section of a span off-site and then moving the massive pieces into place all at once. The technique eliminates the lengthy road closings and other traffic disruptions that can result when a bridge is built out over a highway piece by piece. It is also considered by some engineers to be safer for hard hat workers and motorists because much of the construction isn't done of the traffic. The general approach has been around since the mid-19th century and has been used safely in the way its construction was carried out or in the materials used. Civil engineering experts who viewed photos of the planned structure and the collapse have raised questions about how FIU and its contractors approached the ski, a professor of civil engineering at Duke University and a leading authority on engineering failures. That's probably why they used the so-called ABC method, so they could get the span over the roadway in one operation. Because if you do it incrementally, you have to interrupt traffic. The investigators will also be looking at the companies building the project. A collaboration between MCM Construction, a Miami-based contractor, and FIG Bridge Design based in Tallahassee. Both companies have been involved in construction accidents before. FIG was fined in 2012 after a section of a bridge it was building in Virginia fell and injured several workers, according to a story in the Virginia Pilot. MCM was accused of substandard work in a lawsuit filed this month by a worker injured when a makeshift bridge the company built for Fort Lauderdale Airport collapsed under his weight.
Good Lord. Shortstop raising money to send children to camp. Names both legitimate and offbeat ones like Tadpole, Super Frog, and Hoobie Boo are scrawled in black marker on the green and gold paper shamrocks taped inside the convenience store. On Monday, 948 shamrocks graced the wall above the front counter, the fountain, drink machine, and the beer and beverage coolers at Shortstop 67 on Olive Street in the Haymont neighborhood. St. Patrick's Day, one customer said as he commented on the number of shamrocks around the store. The privately owned Shortstop Food Mart is raising money for its annual Muscular Dystrophy Association Shamrocks campaign. In the case of Shortstop 67, sandwiched between Morganton and Fort Bragg Roads, the money will be used to send children from this community to an MDA summer camp. The company-wide fundraising effort got underway in early February and is scheduled to run through March 28. The Eastern North Carolina Company has a chain of about 40 convenience stores and gas stations in Fayetteville, Sanford, Hope Mills, and surrounding areas. Anything helps, said store manager Annie Brack. We all sell shamrocks to send a kid to camp. A year ago, her store failed to raise the $800 needed to send even one child to camp. It collected $200 in donations. Brax is working with a different crew from this year's campaign, and one that seems to be on board behind the cause. We're pushing more. Everybody's contributing, she said from behind the counter. We're baking cupcakes to sell for shamrocks. This is the first time we brought the little cakes from home. I think that's part of it too. As of March 11, the store has raised $1,056 for its 2018 Shamrocks campaign, Brack said. That's enough to cover the expense of one child and close to 1/3 in cost of sending a second camper. We're trying, she said. The money raised is a record for the store, at least over the 3-year stretch she has managed the business. Brack in the community of Fayetteville.
Okay, television tonight. On ABC at 8 o'clock, Roseanne, The Return. At 9, Deception, a pilot of a new program. A disgraced magician helps the FBI. And at 10 o'clock, pilot for the new program For the People. 6 young lawyers are put to test. And on NBC, there are several basketball tournaments. And then on, Fox, at 8 o'clock is Master Chef. And at 9, Showtime at the Apollo. And then on other NBC programs will be Will and Grace, Superstore, and Dateline NBC, and Saturday Night Live. On CBS, I can't find it. I think that's where all the CBS must be all the basketball games.
It is.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On A&E at 8 o'clock, Live PD Rewind, that's throughout the night. On AMC at 8 o'clock, Spider-Man 3, and then at 11 o'clock, Green Lantern. And then on Discovery at 8 o'clock, Moonshiners. And then at 11 o'clock, Shifting Gears with Aaron Kaufman. On TBN at 8 o'clock will be Huckabee. And at 8:45, Joyce Meyer. At 9:30, Hour of Power. And then at 10:30, Pathway to Victory. And then on TBS, it'll be basketball tournament all night. And then on TCM at 8 o'clock is Flight of Doves. It's a movie taking place in Ireland. And then at 10 o'clock, Patty O'Day, a 1935 musical. And then on TLC at 8 o'clock, Say Yes to the Dress, again at 9, and at 10, Hear Me, Love Me, See Me.
State to take over child welfare office after AP story. North Carolina officials said Friday they would take over a county child welfare agency that illegally removed children, potentially hundreds of them, from their homes. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services said it will completely take over the Cherokee County Department of Social Services starting Monday. The move comes after an Associated Press investigation revealed Cherokee County child welfare workers were not following state law and getting a judge's approval to remove some children from their biological parents. It's about time they did something to clean up this mess, Brian Hogan, whose daughter was illegally removed from his custody, told the AP on Friday. What they did to us was wrong. A lot of people were hurt. At issue are custody and visitation agreements, or CVAs, which were used by social workers to remove children from their home. In order to remove a child from a biological parent, social workers must get a court order from a judge, said Sarah DePasquale, assistant professor of public law and government at the University of North Carolina. Cherokee County social workers bypassed that critical legal step with Hogan and dozens, possibly hundreds of other parents, according to interviews, court documents, and copies of the agreements obtained by the AP. Because a judge and state welfare officials have determined the practices were illegal, the children are at risk of having their lives disrupted again, AP found. Some children who are better off in their new homes might not be allowed to stay there because the agreements did not follow proper protocol. In other cases, children should not have been removed from their parents. AP found one mother of 3 was forced to sign away one child to her mother, but not the other 2. While many of the children were given to nearby relatives, some were placed with family members in other states. And some children who were removed for safety reasons because their parents were addicted to alcohol and drugs were placed in homes with caregivers who had also been arrested for drugs or faced other serious charges. The practice of using private custody agreements was implemented by longtime county and social services department attorney Scott Lindsay, according to court testimony. Lindsay, who was recently fired from the agency, declined to say why he bypassed the court system to remove children or how many of the arrangements his agency made over the years. During a recent emergency hearing involving a parent who signed a custody agreement, Lindsay said he started using CVA in 2007 or maybe earlier. Lindsay provided legal services for the department for nearly 2 decades.
In an effort to support our mission and continued financial success, we will be hosting our 8th annual golf tournament on Saturday, April 7th, 2018 at Gates 4 Golf and Country Club, starting at 11 a.m. and tee-off will be at 12. With your support of $100, your sponsorship will include additional advertisement and hole signage. A corporate sponsorship of $300 will include all of the above, and 4 players will be eligible to play for free. Any donation is tax deductible. We are a charitable organization with federal tax exempt status, 501c3. If you have any further questions, please contact Valerie Woodard at 910-672-2013 or 797-2944. Please spread the word to others. We need your help. Thank you for your support of our listeners and volunteers.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the SENCRRS in mind. Our post office box number is 35029 Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or our toll-free number 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are
Becky Johnston
and Joan Townsend, and we're proud to serve you today.
Nightmare along Mirror Lake Drive coming to an end. This is from Bill Kirby. You can only imagine, if you are one of the 500 plus residents of the Van Story Hills neighborhood, what it's been like every day since October 8th, 2016, when Hurricane Matthew came roaring through and wiped out the Mirror Lake Dam and roadway. Ray and Martha Valerie, unless there is a good rainfall, wake up to a gulch most mornings. Don't get Kristen Knight, the homeowner's president, started on the traffic jams at the bottom of Northview Drive and Morganton Road when the morning bell rings at Van Story Elementary School and the afternoon bell too. Or Jimmy Mask, the school's principal. It's a nightmare, Mask was saying Thursday evening when residents stopping by the school to meet with city officials and dam design representatives and learn about just when they'll have a new dam and street so life can get back to normal. Not uncommon, Mask will tell you for students to arrive 10 or 15 minutes tardy for the opening bell. Residents had the opportunity to review renderings of what Schnabel Engineering has designed to restore the dam and roadway and ask the key question, when will construction begin and when will it be done so we can have back our Mirror Lake Drive? Well, the bad news is Mask will have to live with tardy students for the initial months of 2018 to 2019 school calendar, but depending on permitting and green lights from the Federal Emergency Management Agency to the Army Corps of Engineers to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality to North Carolina Dam Safety, folks like Ray and Martha Valerie won't be waking up to a gulch by year's end. That is our hope, says Giselle Rodriguez, the city engineer. We depend on the permitting so many things are out of our control. But I feel residents are pleased and happy the project is getting started and they feel connected. Construction bid advertising, according to John Larch, the assistant city engineer, should go out in June and construction should begin by midsummer. That's when Larch anticipates the excavators and dump trucks will come rolling across from Ray and Martha Valerie's home. They do the dam first, then build the road, March says. We want it done in 6 months. That's what the city is going to ask. The cost, he says, will be around $1.9 million, depending on bids, and FEMA will pick up 75% of the expenditure and the state the other 25%. I'm satisfied with the proposal, Knight 39 said. I'm a little disappointed in the timeline. It was supposed to be open in September. The city has moved slowly, but at this point, we're going to move as fast as it can. Something Knight is not happy about is that once the new spillway and roadway is done, there will not be a sidewalk. FEMA is not doing a sidewalk, he says. I'll be talking to my councilman. That would be Johnny Dawkins, who residents can thank for urging City Manager Doug Hewitt to keep the neighborhood apprised of plans for restoration to Mirror Dam Lake and the dam. I was not happy with the speed of the project has moved, Dawkins, 58, himself a Van Story Hills resident, was saying, but I appreciate ago the cost was $36,000 or thereabout. We can have the engineers reach out, Larch told Dudley, but Rodriguez says the city is not obligated to any cost to dredging.
95 heading north or south of Fort Bragg this weekend are being asked to take care around military convoys. Hundreds of Army vehicles will be on the road with troops heading from Fort Bragg to Charleston, South Carolina, and Fort Pickett, Virginia. Some of the largest convoys left Fort Bragg on Friday, officials said. The 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 82nd Airborne Division, is transporting hundreds of vehicles to Joint Base Charleston, where they will then be moved to Fort Polk, Louisiana. The brigade will conduct a large training exercise at Fort Polk's Joint Readiness Training Center in the coming weeks. According to an official with this 82nd Airborne Division, the convoys will be on the road through Sunday and will use parts of Interstate 95, Interstate 26, and Remount Road in Charleston. Motorists are advised to be alert, drive safe, to not enter the convoy between vehicles, and use caution when passing a convoy in approved areas. Officials said law enforcement will escort the convoys along various portions of the route. Starting Sunday, the North Carolina National Guard also will put several convoys on the road heading north of Fort Bragg. Officials said Army Heavy Equipment Transport Vehicles, or HETs, would carry M1A1 Abrams tanks and M2 Bradley fighting vehicles to Fort Pickett via I-95. A spokesman said the Guard has coordinated with the Departments of Transportation in North Carolina and Virginia to support the movement. The vehicles belong to the Clinton-based 30th Armored Brigade Combat Team and will be used during gunnery training at Fort Pickett. The spokesman said this will be the first time the vehicles are moved by road to the Virginia post. In the past, officials used rail to transport their heavy equipment. Never before has a movement of this magnitude been accomplished within North Carolina, let alone between two states, said Chief Warrant Officer 3 Jennifer Malloy, the North Carolina National Guard State Movement Officer. This 200-mile movement was made possible with competent drivers, escort vehicles, proper route planning, and adequate time management.
Fort Bragg soldiers to benefit from a new trades program. Soldiers at Fort Bragg who are leaving services are eligible to a new program that will train them for construction jobs, an industry that has been dealing with a shortage of workers. Through a gift from the Home Depot Foundation, Home Builders Institute has launched a program at Fort Bragg to train soldiers transitioning out of service for jobs in the construction trade. The Home Depot Foundation's $50 million pledge aims to train 20,000 tradesmen by 2028. This is a great way for them to have careers, said Heather Prill, Senior Manager of National Partnership for the Home Depot Foundation. They've done so much for our country. For us to be able to do this one thing to give back is the right thing to do. The Home Depot Foundation has focused on veteran housing issues since 2011. It began researching ways into it could expand those initiatives and found the Home Builders for Jobs. The average age program averages about 120 graduates a year. Fort Bragg's program started in January, and the Home Depot's foundation pledge guarantees it will remain for at least 2 years. The organization said types of jobs appeal to soldiers because they can work with their hand. Curson, president of the CEO of the Home Builders Institution. The students that finished our training on the military side were placing 90% in jobs when they graduate from the service. The program at Fort Bragg started with carpentry, but other trades will be added as instructors join, Corson said. Those trades could include masonry, plumbing, electric and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Corson said soldiers are eligible to participate in the program without using GI benefits, so they can earn certification and continue their education with other benefits later. Soldiers who complete the program can work through the Home Builders Institution for job placement in North Carolina or any other 43 states in the network, Corson said. Graduates have reported job payings between $30,000 to $55,000, he said. We want to make sure when they train with us, they're job ready, he said.
I'm gonna go back in the door, get some air.
Fayetteville Symphony receives 14 endowment.
Oh, I thought you were gonna open all the way.
No, is it my time to read?
Yeah.
You can just finish it?
Yeah, okay.
FBI seeks files from Smith Godfrey. An FBI probe into bribery and corruption in college basketball has again partly focused on Fayetteville native Dennis Smith Jr., now a rookie guard with the National Basketball Association Dallas Mavericks. NC State, where Smith played collegiately one season before departing for the NBA, released a copy Friday of a grand jury subpoena issued January 17. The subpoena asked for documents such as emails, text messages, calendar entries, and other record related to Smith's recruitment and enrollment, along with personal files for former Wolfpack head coach Mark Gottfried and ex-assistant Orlando Early. A report by Yahoo Sports last month revealed documents required in the FBI probe alleging Smith received $73,500 in loans from Christian Dawkins, who worked for sports agent Andy Miller. Smith brushed off the allegations when confronted by reporters before a game in Los Angeles last month and has had no comment since. NC State released a copy of the subpoena Friday against the advice of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, which is prosecuting the FBI investigation. The university honored that before public records request by the Raleigh News and Observer on Monday, citing issues with its prompted NC State to release the subpoena to the public. The university did not issue a statement when releasing the copy of the subpoena. NC State was to have presented all documentation as requested by January 31st. It is not known that the university has honored that request. Included in the document requested in the subpoena were specific references to Smith, including any communications between any member of the NC State Athletics Department, including the basketball coach, staff, and Smith, his father, Dennis Smith, Sean Farmer, and any other family member, or representative of Smith. Any communications regarding Smith, his family, or representative. Documents associated with Smith's enrollment, financial aid, and athletic eligibility, including any drafts. In addition to those documents, the FBI asked for the personal files of Gottfried and Early, the latter whom handled recruiting for the basketball program. Gottfried was fired after 2 straight losing seasons in February. He spent a brief time working as a scout for the Dallas Mavericks before being hired 3 days ago as the head coach at Cal State Northridge. When introduced as the school coach Tuesday, Gottfried said he had discussed the situation with Cal State Northridge President Diane F. Harrison. I don't foresee any red flags that I'm aware of, Gottfried said in the press conference. No one connected to NC State has been charged in the case.
Fayetteville Symphony Orchestra receives 14th endowment. Joseph Vongut and his siblings announced a new endowment for the Fayetteville Symphony Orchestra at the organization's March 10th concert at Methodist University. The endowment is in memory of their parents, Marion Cusack Vongut and Norbert Joseph Vongut. The endowment is for the second trumpet chair, according to news release, which is currently held by Larry Wells. Wells has performed with the FSO for more than 10 years, the release says, and is director of the Fayetteville Symphony Youth Orchestra. He is a professor of music and director of instrumental studies, trumpet, at Methodist University. The endowment, according to the release, meets a challenge grant from Ashton W. Lilly Fund for Philanthropy of the Cumberland Community Foundation. The grant matches funds donated to the FSO endowment up to $25,000. The FSO endowment at the foundation was established in 2004. Bertie Howell, a founding FSO musician, created the first endowment chair for the assistant concertmaster. The FSO now has 14 endowed chairs, the release says, with almost $2 million in assets. The goal of the endowment program is to raise $5 million for the long-term support of the symphony and its programs. The Cumberland Community Foundation, circa 1980, manages the FSO endowment according to the release and has more than $77 million in assets and 500 funds under its management. For more information, go to FayettevilleSymphony.org or call 433-4690. You can see a timeline of America's military today and Sunday as Bentonville Battlefield in Four Oaks celebrates its 153rd anniversary with a display of weapons, vehicles, and other equipment used by armed forces over the course of 300 years of the U.S. history. Weapons demonstrations, according to news release, will be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. both days. The Bentonville Volunteer Fire Department will be selling concessions. The program is free. The Battle of Bentonville, fought March 19th to 21st in 1865, involved 80,000 troops and was the last Confederate offensive against Union General William T. Sherman. The battlefield is located at 5466 Harper House Road in Four Oaks, about a 45-minute drive from Fayetteville. For more information, call 594-0789. Dr. Terry Phoenix, director of the LBGT Center at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, is guest speaker in this season's final Ruth Pauley Lecture Series, which is scheduled for 7:30 Tuesday at Owens Auditorium on the Sandhills Community College campus in Pinehurst. There will be no charge to attend. Donors of all blood types, especially type O, are needed as part of American Red Cross Month. Upcoming blood donation opportunities in the Cape Fear region, according to a Red Cross news release, are 1:30 to 6 p.m. Tuesday at Plainview Community Center at 5561 Plainview Highway in Dunn, 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Wednesday at Campbell University, Leslie Campbell Avenue at Bowie's Creek, 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on Thursday at Southeastern Community College at 4564 Chadbourne Highway, Whiteville, 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thursday, Southeastern Health at 300 North 27th Street, Lumberton, 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Friday at Scotland High School, 1000 West Church Street in Laurinburg. And for more information, call 800-733-2767.
Congress seeks probe into child sex abuse on bases. Congress reacted Thursday to an Associated Press investigation into sexual assault among children on U.S. military bases by demanding the Defense and Justice Departments explain how they will resolve the problem. The House of Representatives Armed Services Committee, meanwhile, said it had begun its own examination of the issue, and a top Democrat on the committee said she would call a hearing within 6 months. 4 senators, including the veteran head of the Senate Armed Service Committee and 2 others who've made sexual assault a keynote issue, sent letters to the Pentagon and Justice Department with questions about sexual assault among the military's children. AP's investigation revealed that reports of sexual violence among kids on U.S. military bases at home and abroad often die on the desk of prosecutors, even when an attacker confesses. Other cases are shelved by criminal investigators despite requirements they be pursued. Many cases get lost in a dead zone of justice, AP found, with neither victim nor offender receiving help. The report reveals an inscrutable system that fails these children at every level, wrote Senator Patty Murray, a Washington Democrat. In a letter to U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis, Senator John McCain of Arizona and Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, leaders of the Senate Armed Services Committee, asked that the Pentagon's Inspector General begin a comprehensive assessment of department policies related to sexual assault among military children in schools and elsewhere on base. It disturbs us to learn that the department's policies and procedures may prevent efforts to help child victims of misconduct and to rehabilitate and hold child offenders accountable. Separately, Senator Kristen Gillibrand, a New York Democrat, wrote the Justice Department's Inspector General requesting a comprehensive investigation into how many child sex assault cases have been prosecuted and why the majority have been declined. Inspector General offices are independent entities within federal departments charged with investigating potential problems within agencies. They do not have to accept requests for action from Capitol Hill. A Pentagon spokesman would not comment on the day's development. Alleged conversations between Secretary Mathis and other officials are private and will remain as such, Major Dave Eastburn said in an email. The Pentagon and Justice Department's inspectors general also did not comment, nor did a spokesman for the Justice Department. Representative Jackie Speer, a California Democrat, called AP's finding of nearly 600 reports of sexual assault among children on bases in 2007 a national disgrace and a military scandal. The top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee that deals with military personnel said she was demanding information from the Pentagon in anticipation of holding a public hearing within 6 months. You cannot have an environment in which children aren't protected regardless of whether they're on a base or in a public school. So we've got to change the law. A spokesman for Republicans on the House Armed Services Committee said staff had already begun an independent examination of cooperation between the Department of Defense and Justice and how they handle military child-on-child sexual assault issues that would examine a report for victims and the Pentagon's data. Records of the military's initially released omitted a third of the cases AP later identified through interviews with prosecutors, military investigators, family members, and whistleblowers, as well as data that officials later provided. This is clearly a serious matter, spokesman Claude Chafin said of AP's findings. The tens of thousands of kids who live on U.S. bases are not covered by military law. The Justice Department, which handles civilian crimes on many bases, isn't equipped or inclined to take on juvenile cases, AP found. This legal and bureaucratic netherworld also extends to the Pentagon's worldwide network of schools, which affords students fewer protections than public schools if they are sexually attacked by a classmate on campus. The federal law that offers help to victims of student sexual assault, known as Title IX, does not apply to federal education programs such as those run by the military. Oh, goodness.
8 named to Elections Ethics Board. Governor Roy Cooper on Friday announced his initial choices of a new state board that administers both elections and ethics laws, even as he presses his latest legal challenge against the law that created the combined panel. Cooper, a Democrat, appointed 8 people, 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans, as the law requires. Cooper had to choose from the nominees submitted by the chairman of each state party. Each party chair nominated 6. Most of his choices were attorneys and some with experience on the previous state elections board or county boards. The 8 members will soon present to Cooper 2 more nominees who must be unaffiliated or libertarian. He must choose between them to appoint a 9th member. The 9 will serve through April 2019, according to the latest law approved last month by the Republican-controlled General Assembly. It took effect Friday because Cooper decided to let it become law without his signature. There hasn't been a board seated since last June, the result of extended litigation between Cooper and the GOP leaders. That has led to difficulties to the state board and county boards to carry out their responsibilities. A Cooper spokesman said this week the governor decided to name the board because it's important to have one as this year's election approach. Traditional absentee balloting for the May 8th primary begins Monday. A news release from board staff said the appointees soon are likely to take up local voting plans, campaign finance and ethics complaints, and whether to recognize the Green Party as an official state party. The law marks the 3rd version of the bipartisan State Board of Elections and Ethics enforcement backed by legislature since December 2016. Cooper, a Democrat, sued over the previous 2 versions and won in court both times, based on arguments that the retooled board's makeup failed to ensure a majority of members would share the governor's views and priorities. But the state Supreme Court decision earlier this week narrowed the scope of a ruling in his favor, making it less likely that he could temporarily block the 3rd version while his latest lawsuit continues. Democratic appointees are former State Board of Elections members Josh Malcolm of Pembroke, who also serves on the Lumbee Tribe's Supreme Court, Raleigh attorney Andy Penry, attorney Valerie Johnson of Durham County, and Watauga County Elections Board member Stella Anderson. The Republican appointees are lawyers Stacey Eggers of Boone, John Lewis of Mount Pleasant, and John Hemphill of Raleigh, and Ken Raymond, chairman of the Forsyth County Elections Board. Lewis is deputy counsel for the state Republican Party. Anderson and Eggers, who are also the Watauga County attorney and a former Watauga Election Board member, have clashed over the years back home. So have Anderson and Eggers' brother Luke, previously the Watauga Board chairman. Some of the fighting has been over the location of early voting sites at or near Appalachian State University. This concludes our reading of the Fayetteville Observer. Your radio hosts have been
Joan Townsend
and Becky Johnston. For our radio listeners, we will now join the Raleigh Network for additional program. Thank you for tuning us in. We enjoy being with you. It's just too hot here. No air was circulating.
Did you get some after a while right there?
Yeah. Did you feel better?
I took my jacket off.
Oh.
Cause I was steaming in here. Usually it's chilly in here.
Yeah.
Hey,
What's going on?
nothing.
I like them jeans, Miss Jones.
Thank you. Nothing but the weather going on.
I like the
Oh,
I like them boots too.
Thank you.
You are the cutest stuff. I'm gonna get there. I'm getting there.
I
I'm
got
working.
shirt.
Yeah, this is going to the gym. I got to put my tennis shoes on.
Were you going to the gym today?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I got a gym.
First Baptist yesterday.
Yeah, down there at Lumberton. Yeah,
First Baptist.
right there on 7th and 8th. Right there on 8th, 7th and 8th. Yeah, 7th and 8th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the North Carolina Division of the Line.
Oh, were
And
you?
it was really nice. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, shoot.
Did Victor show up? She just.
I was hoping